Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Craft Roulette Challenge number 190, a fancy fold card. And we're going with stretchy pants, because Craft Roulette is all about stretchy pants on Friday night. And so the sentiment on this one just spoke to me in a Craft Roulette sort of fashion. And so that was why I picked this particular stamp out of that set. So the set I'm actually using is, I think it's called Turkey Day, from Simon Says Stamp. It was last year's, one of last year's Stamp Timber sets. I actually picked it up for a song of a couple of dollars after Thanksgiving last year. I want to say, you know, I always shop their clearance section, and it was in there, and I was like, oh, it had some really cute sentiments on it and some really cute turkeys. And I don't do a whole lot of Thanksgiving cards, but I thought this one was really cute. It might have even been from 2 years ago. It probably was from 2 years ago. Anyways, that's besides the point. I started, since today was a fancy fold card, I started with a piece of 12 by 12 cardstock in Lagoon, which is that tealy color that you see. And then I brought in a scrap of paper in that brown Thankful. I think it's called Thankful. It's from Hobby Lobby. It was a scrap of a project that I did last fall with my niece. And I loved the colors on it, and so I kept the scrap. And so I was like, I need to use this. And it worked with the colors for aquarium. Because if I remember, the only aquarium I remember growing up was from the dentist office. And he had the sunken ship that would move with the bubbles. And he had either teal rocks, but there was orange and red, you know, gaudy things in there as well. And so that was kind of where I was going with that. At least to me screamed aquarium. And I really didn't do a blue. I kind of kept that tealy color. That was kind of my blue. So for my card base there, I started with a 5.5 inch tall, and then I started with the full 12 inches, and then I ended up scoring and cutting from there. So my first score was at 2.25 inches, and then my next one was at kind of coming from the other end. So from that first score line, I did a 4.25 inch score, and then I just cut off the rest to make my fancy fold card. I really hadn't decided what I was going with for fancy fold on this one until, you know, I just started and went with it. And so I am also using a scrap of paper from Simple Stories, and I think it's Simple Vintage Fall. I've used it before, but I had some scraps, and so I was like, well, this should work close enough. I was kind of bummed that I didn't get my plaid to line up between the two, but ultimately, in the end, it really wasn't that big of a deal. It just adds a little bit more character to it, I guess. I was trying to decide which circle was going to work the best, and I hadn't planned on using both of them at this point. I had only planned on using one of them, but I decided that bigger one, the turkey with the sign, was probably big enough that, you know, he'd fit on there a little bit better than he would have the other one. And then I'm going to do some overhang here. Now, I did back that Thankful paper here just because it was fairly thin or lightweight, and I wanted it to have a little bit of strength to it because I am adding it on the overhang of the flap there. So I put my glue on half of it, and then I will press that down, make sure it is stuck good on both sides. And then to kind of finish the inside piece here, I am adding that smaller circle. Of course, I could only fit the smaller circle on my scrap piece of paper, so that's why I ended up with a smaller one and a bigger one. Yeah, that's the rest of that scrap of paper is now in the garbage. It has, you know, fully been used. So once I had that done, I really didn't know where I was going. I might have also been on a crafty chat with a friend. Hi, Kate. So I pulled out some of my past color palettes and kind of picked what was going to work the best. So I went with those E769s, which is like an orangey brown, and then of course that tealy color, and then my orange card here that I have. So if you wanted those colors, I don't use all of them I kind of kept it to 2, sometimes 3, but sometimes I use them in a different order. So I'll use maybe like if I have 4 colors, I might use 2 of the lighter ones and not the 2 darker ones, and it gives you a different look, but you still are using the same tonal family or the same, they all go together, but you get different, I don't know, different variations of them, I guess you could say. So this is the first time I've colored this one. Can I say I was not in a coloring mood? But I knew I needed to color my images. Next time I do this stamp set I'm not used to the really thin lines, and these were definitely thinner outline lines. I might end up doing like an emboss on it, like stamp it VersaFine and then emboss it, because they were such fine lines that, when you color with alcohol markers and you kind of overcolor because your blend isn't working the greatest, because you're not, playing well with markers today, it kind of did bleed in to the feathers below. And then, of course, as I'm coloring, I was like, oh, I was going to go every other feather and kind of like stagger them. Yeah, it's what happens when I'm on Crafty Chat and not really paying attention to what I'm doing, kind of, just chatting, which means I was having a great time, right? So it was all good. It really didn't matter. It's just a card. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going with all teal on that one. And then I brought in my oranges for the inside layer of feathers. Yes, not a true turkey feather colors, but I wanted to keep my colors in my my card color scheme. I didn't want to go out too far, and I wanted to add some pizzazz. He needed to have a little bit of a fluffy, fun turkey butt, and so that's why he got a teal and orange turkey butt or feathers. And then I will take those 3 colors and color my coordinating leaves here as well. So just kind of starting with the dark ones, the darkest in the middle, and then going out to the light. And this is where I say I use maybe the last 3 on my color spectrum instead of the top 3, where the turkey I use the top 3 on the browns, and then for those brown leaves I use the bottom 3, and you can see the variation in color that you get. And then I kind of started the same way on my sign. Can I say I was not impressed with my coloring on the sign? As I was coloring it, I'm like, this is a hot mess. I do not like it. And Kate was like, it'll be fine. I'm like, but it's not looking right. So then I came back in with my markers and used the fine tip and kind of just drew in lines. It ended up looking fine. It just did not start out fine. So I think when you work on wood grain, or you're trying to get that wood grain look, and if it looks like a hot mess, don't feel too bad, because I think it always looks like a hot mess. So I cut that out using my brother's scan and cut. I think I need to get a new blade for it. At least on the small images, it kind of struggles a little bit. It's probably time. I mean, I've used it for many years without putting any more money into it, so I should probably switch out the blade. Anyways, so I'm going to pop my turkey on here. I did stamp, we should rename Thanksgiving Stretchy Pants Day. Of course, I forgot to push the play button twice on my camera, so you missed that part. It was just me stamping it with VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Not a whole lot going on there. And then for my sentiment. So I kind of decided to do the Thanksgiving down below. Of course, I was going to have to go cut a piece of paper or find a piece of paper. So I was trying to get other things done beforehand. So I have these leftover pieces from last year's Brewing Up Creativity with Jaime class that I did locally. And so I always cut out extras for that just in case somebody has issues. And so I have probably an envelope of extra from each card that I've made for card class. And so I kind of keep them handy, and then I pull from them. And since it was the same paper pack, I was able to pull from that. And I just wanted something on that inside flap. I really didn't want to, I probably could have put another turkey. I thought about putting the turkey underneath the circle, but then I couldn't decide what to put on the circle on the front. So the turkey went on the front as the focal point. And this just kind of adds a little bit of something on the inside here without much, can I say, effort at this point? Yeah. I'm not sad about that. So they were already, that die cut comes from My Favorite Things. So I pulled out a piece of coordinating orange cardstock. Most of my colored cardstock is from Close to My Heart. Most of it is back from before 2015. I did finally find the date that, I probably quit buying Close to My Heart stuff. Or quit being a consultant just so I could get the discount. It's, I've had a great paper supply. It's wonderful because paper is expensive nowadays. And, I don't feel so bad about wasting it this way. Anyways, so I did stamp that with VersaFine Onyx black ink and then put some clear, ultrafine clear embossing powder over the top from Ranger, and then I heat set it. Yes, I will always show heat setting because it's my favorite thing. It's like one of those magic tricks in card making, isn't it? So I'm bringing in my smaller guillotine tonic cutter here, and I'm going to cut down my sentiment. So I kind of measured by using for this part of the letter, and then, kind of eyeballed it from there. I really don't measure well. And so I just wanted to make sure that it was within under my 4-inch mark was kind of my goal here. And while I was on Crafty Chat with Kate, I was like, this one, because I just got the new one for my anniversary. I got the new slider tonic one from Tim Holtz, which I am in love with, by the way. I had a hard time with his 12-inch guillotine. The paper would move and I would get crooked lines. I have the same problem with this one. But I said, I like this one just because of the ruler on it, but I don't like that extra wide finger rest. And so she's like, well, you use a Post-it note, which I'm like, yes, I use a Post-it note now because that's what Kate taught me on Kate's channel. So shout out to Kate. Thank you for that one. I thought about backing this one, but I didn't leave enough real estate really to do that. And so I just ended up adding this one on the front without the backer. I really wanted to put a border around it, but it's a larger sentiment, so it just didn't work. Maybe if I had put the circle further up, I probably could have wiggled it in there, but I just didn't feel that it was going to work. So for my clusters of 3 here, I kind of split up my cluster, but then on the inside, so if Deputy Heidi says that's not allowed, I also did a cluster on the inside. So don't worry, I will get my cluster of 3 clustered together in 3. So I'm adding 3 little leaves on the bottom. It really ties in that pattern paper in the background with the leaves on it, kind of into the sentiment down here. And so I added those. And then once that was done, I am going to add the rest of my cut and colored leaves onto the inside piece here. So I have my clusters of 3. And then, of course, I'm not done yet. I needed to fill in the writing spot. So usually I don't like to write in cards. It's probably why I don't send out very many, because writing, I never know what to write. But for this one, I'm probably going to send it to my nanny Alice. And so I always write her what we're up to and all of those things. It's the only one I really write a letter to when it comes to sending her things. So this way I have extra writing space on this one. But I also wanted to incorporate some of that outside of the card into the inside of the card. So when I'm on top of my game and I decorate the inside of the card, at the same time that I decorate the outside, I usually like to make it coordinate. So wobble till we, or gobble till we wobble. Wobble till we gobble. Well, I mean, that might be us if we're doing the turkey trot on Thursday. We might be wobbling until it's gobble time. Anyways, and since this paper is a little bit thinner, I'm just going to come in with my double-sided tape runner, yeah. And then I will frame those on the inside, making the turkey and the sentiment kind of centered in there, but it gives me a little bit extra writing room to send Nanny a nice little note before Thanksgiving. So my goal today is to get this one written and in the mail. So we should rename Thanksgiving Stretchy Pants Day. Happy Thanksgiving. And then the inside. So for the Craft Roulette parameters this week, I have a fancy fold card. So it's got the 3 panes or panels. And then the color scheme is aquarium. So I got the teals, the oranges, the reds, and then of course that brown for the sunken ship. And the cluster of 3, and of course Thanksgiving is in November. I hope you have an amazing day. Go check out Craft Roulette and Miss Mary. Bye!